We have a very special guest on our podcast today. I think you're only the third guest we've actually had on the podcast.
Oh, yes.
You know, third time lucky, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, the third one.
Yeah, definitely. Mr. Ali Abdaal, you have...
Mr.
Mr. Why not? You know?
It's not my official title.
Oh, okay. Fine. Doctor. Sorry, Dr. Ali Abdaal.
Like, my mum might be watching this. I need her to, like, really...
that is fair.
Yeah.
Yes, Ali's... I'll describe you as various different things, and you can nod approvingly. So if anyone's watching on YouTube, they can watch the video of it. But you are a doctor. You're not registered anymore, are you? Or?
My license is paused. I'm still paying the membership dues. It's not cancelled.
Right.
It's not struck off just yet, but it's like paused.
So technically, you're still...
How much does it cost to be a doctor?
Oh, it's about 150 quid a year.
Okay.
And then it kind of keeps on increasing the more senior you get. At my stage, 150 quid a year.
Oh, really? So it gets more expensive?
Oh, God, yeah.
The better you get.
The better you get, the more senior you get, the more you have to pay for like membership fees and like indemnity fees and all of the things. They really racks up.
What does it go up to?
I think several hundred.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then on top of that, several hundred to several thousand in indemnity fees, depending on what you do. On top of that, several thousand for each exam you have to take as you become more senior. This is stuff that doctors complain about all the time.
Wow, I never actually knew that. That's,
No, I assumed NHS would pay it all.
Oh, God, no. NHS hasn't got any money.
Yeah, because I was under the assumption that doctors are just covered, nurses are all covered, and it's just, you just crack on. You don't have to pay anything. You're just paid to...
Yeah, so technically, if you just work for the NHS, the hospital will, quote, cover you. But the theory goes that if you get embroiled in a case or something, the hospital is trying to protect themselves, not trying to protect you. And so basically every doctor is recommended to have like in their own personal indemnity. And so they at least then have someone in their corner to represent them. While the hospital's obviously just trying to save their own back, as it were.
That's mad.
And you were trained by the system that the hospital was sort of founded on to a certain degree.
Yeah, to a certain degree.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that sorry, we went off tangent there a little bit, but fair enough. Yes, doctor, YouTuber, podcaster. Anything else I can add to that list? Entrepreneur, philanthropist,
Super handsome.
Super handsome. We'll add that, number 6.
Yeah.
Yes, Ali is, you're probably most famous for, I will be, say, is YouTube. Overall, 2.8 million subscribers now.
Something like that.
You started off in the sort of productivity space sphere. Well, it's more education.
I started off helping kids get into med school and then telling people what life in med school was like, then teaching people how to study for their exams, and then helping generally people be more productive. And now I don't really know what I do. I just make videos about stuff that interests me. And it seems to interest some people as well, but
a few.
Here we are.
I mean, 2.8 million people.
A few, yeah.
A few bots in there, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like all the bots that like comment first, second, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So we wanted to invite you on, because I work for you and I get special privileges. So here you are, sat on the couch.
Absolutely.
But also to ask you a few questions. We kind of talk a bit about like general dad life things. We talk about brother sort of relationships. We talk about finances to some degree and those kind of things. So it would have been quite interesting to get you on and talk about those rather than probably the usual creator podcasts that you jump on and talking about being super productive.
Let's do it. Although I'm not a dad, as far as I know, so I'm not sure I can weigh in on that topic.
No, but you obviously, we've talked about your aspirations to become a father at some point.
I would like to.
And you also talked about quite a large family. And Neil, my brother, has 3 children. He has 1 7-year-old and 2 twin boys. I have a 7-month-old. And you've kind of expressed your wish to have anywhere between 3 or 4 children.
3 or 4, yeah.
Not 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Not 7.
Somewhere between 3 and 4.
Have you thought about the ramifications of having 3 or 4 children?
I think like when you're young and unencumbered, it's very easy to be like, oh, it would be cool. Like, I see friends of mine who have like 3, 4 siblings, and that seems just like a good vibe. They always have loads of like fallings out over Christmas and things like that. But other than that, it seems like a pretty good setup. And given that I don't know what it's like to have kids, in my mind I'm imagining, it'd be cool to have these like 4 kids running around, and then they're all old, and then we have like big family gatherings and go on family holidays and stuff. I do reserve the right to change my mind if new information comes to light, as and when I do have kids.
That is definitely fair. And I used to be of the kind of opinion where you'd kind of sit in a restaurant and there'd be feral children running around screaming and shouting. You'd be like, for God's sake, I'm just trying to enjoy my dinner. But now, having had a child, and I now sit in that sort of slightly patronizing higher position as a dad.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, yeah, they're just trying to get on with life, and they don't know what they're doing, and they're trying to do that thing. But Neil definitely has more experience from like a three children thing. So Neil, what is it? What is it like going from 1 to 3 in a very quick fashion like you did? Because you had Isla, then you just had twin boys. Would you say 3 is a good number? Would you say 2 is a good number? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what 2's like, obviously, but yeah, 3, it's chaotic. And I think when you say you want 3 or 4, I think have your first one first and see how you get on.
Have your first one first. That's great advice.
But yeah, just there's a lot to juggle. It's not as glamorous and nice as people make it, or people seem to make it out to be on social media and all that kind of thing.
So when you say a lot to juggle, what do you mean by that?
Like you've got three little things that don't really know how to look after themselves.
Okay. So you have to like change and vomit and
And just split up fights and make their lunch, make their breakfast, just constant.
Because you're in a slightly different place now, because yours are like 3 and 7, so they have an element of freedom to a certain degree.
But they think they can do something, but they can't.
Right.
They think they can make their breakfast, but not quite.
That seems so much more challenging than now, because Olivia she can't even sit up properly. Like I have to hold her to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So, yes, she is entirely reliant on me helping change her and feed her and do all the things for her. But you've got 3 little kids.
So a 3-year-old wants to be independent, wants to do absolutely everything, to the point where you have arguments because he's trying to spread butter on his toast. Or one that happened recently was Ben that got really, really, really upset because he didn't think I'd put butter on his toast, but didn't realize that the butter melted.
Oh.
So he couldn't see it, and he flipped out.
Damn.
It's like, I want butter. There's definitely butter on there.
Didn't he want to drive the car at one stage?
That was Lewis,
He couldn't leave, so he was screaming in the back because he wasn't allowed to drive the car.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's in his car seat. Well, he tried to get into my front seat, but I'd put him in his car seat, and he was going crazy, saying, I want to drive the car, Daddy.
Oh.
He's 3 years old.
How do you find the negotiation aspect? Because last night I was trying to organise Isla to get to bed. And she's obviously come home. She's very excited. My mum's down, so her grandma's down. She's seeing all these new people. She wants to see baby Olivia. That's what she's down for. But it's pushing like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, right? She's a 7-year-old. She should be in bed by then.
Yep.
And I've never had to negotiate with someone so much over cleaning their teeth.
Like, what did that negotiation look like?
It got to the point where I stormed out.
What, so you're like trying to reason with them and they're just not listening?
Yeah,
or?
so you brush your teeth. You know why you brush your teeth.
Yeah,
I know
probably.
why. I know why I brush my teeth because women tend to find me more attractive when I have teeth.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of, you understand the benefits, but they don't care about the long-term benefits of brushing their teeth. They just think it's a task that's stopping them hang out with adults and do what they want to do. Yeah. So I'm kind of like, I'm trying to play a game by, you can do that bit there, and you can get right there, and you can do that bit there. And she's like, no, I'm not doing it. And then I was like, okay, well, because I don't hang around with 7-year-olds very often for obvious reasons. And I was like, she'll know that she needs to like spit out the toothpaste.
Yeah.
Nah.
Swallows it.
She was like, I swallowed it. I'm like, yeah, but you need to just go in the water and like put the water in the mouth and then spit it out. She's like, no. And I'm tired. Like I've had a long day.
Why do you need her to brush her teeth? Like, what does it matter if she skips a few days?
Well, I felt kind of compelled to be a responsible adult and, be in front of my mum and Neil and be like, I can look after a child.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Rather than whether or not she needs to do her teeth or not.
I think bribery comes into it quite a lot, especially at that age.
Are you allowed to say that? Is that cancelable?
Bribery?
Bribing a child?
No, it's all good.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It's not parenting advice, but it seems to work.
Like, what do you bribe them with?
It depends on the level of thing. So I don't know. An example might be, I want Isla to tidy her room. She says no. I say, well, if you tidy your room, you can maybe get a sweetie. Or, and again, is that good or bad? No idea.
Oh, rewards and punishments.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot. There's a book called My Brain Child, or something about the brain and raising children, and they kind of frown upon the whole bribery thing.
Yeah,
but I don't. And I have other friends that have got kids, you kind of default to it because it seems the easiest thing.
Yeah, it works in the short term.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. I have no idea what the long term effects are going to be. But if it gets a thing done, then I'm happy.
Have you come across a book called Unconditional Parenting?
No.
Oh, it's sick. We've got a copy in the office. We can lend you a copy. It's by this chap called Alfie Kohn, who's this like child psychologist and also a parent. And his whole thing is that basically he's also written a book called Punished by Rewards, which is around, and this is stuff that I'm researching for the book that I'm writing, because the thing that I'm trying to write about is this idea that when we're kids, we do things for the intrinsic joy of doing them. And then as we grow older, we start doing things for the sake of the reward that they will get us, like grades, or, oh, do this thing and then you'll get a good job one day, or do this thing and then you'll be happy. And the extrinsic motivators crowd out the intrinsic motivators for doing stuff. And what Alfie basically says is that rewards and punishments buy compliance in the short term, but they are counterproductive in the long term. But then, well, every other parenting book would be like, or every other parent would say, is be like, okay, that's great in theory, but I need to get my kid to brush their teeth. So, like, what do you do then?
This is the thing, right? I'm sat here like a patronizing parent going, you do it.
Yeah.
So, have you thought about what you have from an aspirational perspective for your children? Do you want them to become doctors? Do you want them to go to university? Do you want them to become YouTubers? Do you want them to become have you ever thought about, maybe the future and what that looks like?
Not really. I think I just want them to be healthy, happy, productive, kind.
Productive.
All the productive as in contributing to society, right? Generating their own economic output. No, I think that's broadly what every parent wants for their kid, isn't it? Like, and healthy, happy, kind.
It is. It defaults pretty quickly, especially when you have a child. You're not really bothered about all of the things that happen in the future. You are. But more so in the sense that they've got 4 fingers and one thumb, and they have all their toes, and they're they're happy, and they live a fulfilled life, I suppose, is kind of where you want to go. And whether they become rich or famous or do whatever else, you just want them to meet someone or do whatever they want to do from that perspective. Yeah. But yeah, do you ever think about now? Because now your children are starting to get into that independence phase, whereas Olivia's kind of like, she's still pretty helpless. There's no way she's going to be climbing Mount Everest anytime soon. Yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, you want to think about the future, but again, at the same time, you don't want to wish the time to go away. So you just, take each day as it comes, and you can kind of guide them. So with Isla, she's tried ballet, she's tried different kind of dancing, she's done piano. So it's like testing all these things and see what clicks, and see what she really wants to go back to. And right now it's swimming, and she absolutely loves swimming. Piano, she's okay with it, but again, there's no kind of, she doesn't every week she doesn't say, I want to go to piano. So yeah, you just test different things, and I encourage any parent to do different things often. So is that different dance lessons? Is that, I don't know, there's something called Rainbows. Guys? Yeah, it's like a outdoor. It's like Scouts. Have you heard of Scouts?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the female version.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah, you could do something like that, or you could put her into other musical classes or acting classes, singing classes. Yeah, just let them experience different things, I think.
Nice.
Yeah,
and that they'll guide themselves.
That variety is pretty important. Did you have much variety in your sort of childhood in terms of were you just sat at the piano having to be Beethoven, or did you have a sort of a plethora of things that you were kind of experiencing from sport to arts and crafts?
Yeah, no, I feel like I had a large amount of freedom to do stuff because my mum's single, and so she wasn't really like a sort of helicopter parent of being like going from this to that to this to that. She was also, because she was working. And so me and my brother would get home from school. Our grandma was the one who raised us mostly when we were younger. And just had the kind of freedom to do stuff. And it was only really when I think it was around about 11 that I discovered the computer. And then that was what took up all my time and led to the whole coding thing, the whole starting businesses thing. But before then, just running around. We spent the first 6 years of our life in Southern Africa. And so it's like playing with kids in the playground and stuff. There wasn't this concept in that school of like loads of clubs and activities and things. Then when we moved to the UK at the age of when I was 8 years old, then I was like, let's try the violin. And then, my brother tried the recorder and the piano, and there was like netball, which I was into. And then there was like football practice. So there was those sorts of things, which we didn't really have when we were in Lesotho.
Yeah. Okay. And you've already kind of part of this. I wanted to also go into sort of the business background of what you've been up to and what you do, and even from an educational perspective. You've already stated like Neil was into computers when he was quite young. He was very much sort of
the same age.
Yeah, about the same age, and you were sat kind of like in your computer doing your
nice
website.
It was called Wiki Hacks, is what Neil had.
Whiz Hacks.
Whiz Hacks.
Yeah.
Whiz Hacks.
My blog.
Oh, nice.
There's an episode. You could probably talk about it now, but yeah, Neil basically got banned from the internet for a little while by Google because he was doing something a bit naughty.
What are you doing? Like
So I was
SEO or something?
I was like 13, 14 years old in high school, and at that time, high school blocked a lot of websites. Things like Bebo, MySpace were just forbidden. I managed to find a way around it with my website. You could it's called a proxy. You might have heard of a proxy. And yeah, so I hosted one on my website for quite a long time, put ads all over it, made a small amount of money from Google. But it turns out that if you host a proxy in the UK, it's illegal.
Oh, okay.
So I got shut down very, very quickly.
Nice.
Well, I'd
Well
say
played.
maybe 6 months.
That's
of
not
cash
bad
from Google. So
That's pretty good.
yeah, as a 13-year-old.
Did you, when you were sort of starting at 11, did you start trying to go down the route of having a business? Or was there like an idea of trying to make money, or were you just kind of doing it because it was fun, or what was the background?
It was doing it because it was fun, and also the idea of trying to make money, which then morphed into the idea of starting a business. So all of those things, which I think all 11 to 15-year-old nerds do when they're on a computer, being like, oh, I can make websites, I can learn to code, I can try these like affiliate marketing scams, I can try these pyramid schemes, I can try these like, oh, can I make like a niche site that gives like StarCraft to build orders, so then I can use Google ads and put them on the website and make money through that? Can I sign up to like Trade Doubler and use affiliate links and all that stuff that I think kids of that generation were trying to use to make money on the internet.
If you can reflect on it, what did money mean to you then? Like what? Because obviously it was probably quite fun to do all these kind of things, and you've talked about this with your book development aspect, and you've already just intimated the idea of children and having fun. But there was also that kind of extrinsic motivator in the sense of cash.
Yeah.
You know, do you reflect upon why did you want to make money? Why not just do it because it was like kicking a ball into a goal, or hitting a cricket ball?
I mean, yeah, just the idea of making money was also seemed really fun, and we didn't really believe in the concept of pocket money, and so I had money that would generate from birthdays and Eids and stuff, and there were always more gadgets that I wanted, like, oh, I really want a laptop one day, or oh, I really want to buy this PlayStation game, but PlayStation games are like £30, and like, how the hell are you supposed to get £30 other than once a year on your birthday? So when I think it was one of my friends in year 7 when I was like 11 years old who kind of turned me on to the idea of being able to make money on the internet. It was like, oh yeah, this is a thing, you can make money online. I was like, oh my god, if I could make money online, I can buy more PlayStation games. So that was like my whole thing.
So do you think the money aspect there wasn't necessarily reinvestment? It was more just to buy more toys?
Oh god, yeah. It was about buying gadgets.
But did those gadgets, because a laptop would then facilitate you to be able to move around and do other things, did you ever think beyond that, or was it just literally, these are just toys?
It was gadgets are cool. Yeah, PlayStation games, but also a laptop would be really cool, because then, I don't know, a laptop is just cool when you're a computer kid. And then, I can get an external monitor for it, and then that would be cool, because now I've got 2 screens set up, and now if you've got 2 screens, you might as well have 3 screens. It was that level of stuff. And I've talked about this with my brother as well, where, the way we would value money when we were growing up was, how many new computer monitor screens can I get each year? And I was like, hang on, if you've got a job that makes you £5,000 a year, that's like, that's like 10 extra monitors a year. What? So just like that level of thinking.
So it's almost like, because in Lesotho, I know in South Africa they have the whole wall thing. Certainly in Johannesburg, I don't know if you know this, but the taller the wall, the richer you are.
Oh,
so you're creating your own little fortress. So I'm almost, it's like your competition with your brother was, if I've got 10 monitors and he's got 8, then I'm far more superior.
Yeah, I don't think it was really a competition. I think it was more like we both really loved the idea of having like a sort of battle station type kind of desk setups. So yeah.
And did your mum have any kind of boundaries to you using computers? Was it
she tried. Occasionally she'd be like, half an hour a day, and we'd be like, okay, mum. Good luck with that one. I think this was actually one of the benefits of mum being a single parent, because she wasn't around in the evenings to police us very much. And I think if we'd had like I feel like it's hard to actually know the counterfactual, but like if we'd also had a dad around, and our dad is a doctor as well, we'd have had a more comfortable like upper middle class lifestyle with 2 doctor parents. There probably would have been more level of parental control, and so I wondered to what extent mine and my brother's entrepreneurial drive would have developed in that like environment of plenty, where we had friends who were like just getting PlayStations and stuff because the parents wanted to buy them, but like for us it was more like birthdays and needs. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to spend my own money on this thing. And it's not like our mum was like, hey, I'm not going to buy you stuff. But there was very much this idea of like, I need to get my own money to be able to buy these gadgets that I don't really need. And therefore, I think that really developed the entrepreneurial drive.
I've thought a lot about how can I do that for Olivia, and how can I do that for any another kid I might have in the future. I've tried to think about, well, if I just buy them things, or if I just give them pocket money or whatever else, how much does that then stop them wanting to do it for themselves and go out and do it for themselves? And I've been trying to think of ways to facilitate that, where perhaps they're like, hey, I want to buy this bike and it's £100. And I'll say, look, I'll give you £100, but if you turn that into £200, I'll then turn that into £400. So you can have the bike and then another £300. Yeah. Can you think of any, this may be off the cuff a little bit, but can you think of any ways that perhaps you want to then instill that into your future children?
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about it. It's like occasionally on podcasts, people who are dads or parents will talk about this stuff, and the idea of anytime you get money, then like a third of it goes to savings, a third of it goes to your pot of money, a third of it goes to giving to charity, or something to that effect. That feels quite cool. I do like the idea of kind of giving kids a way of, quote, earning their own money. But then if that earning their own money is in return for things like doing the dishes or like mowing the lawn, well, that's kind of bad, because they should be doing the dishes and mowing the lawn anyway, because it's part of the household. Yeah. So I don't really know. If you come up with a method, I'd love to know about it.
And one of the challenges I find is that boundaries, and that's why I asked the question, is do I let Isla just play on her iPad as much as she wants, if it's an educational game or if it's a programming game? And like, where do you do boundaries? Because when I was younger, they didn't really set any boundaries for me. I had a computer in my room at a pretty young age, and there was no kind of, you must only use it for an hour a day. Yeah. They just let me do it. And that inspired me to be what I am today in some ways. And with Isla, you've got to have some boundaries, but then you don't want to be that parent who's...
Because it's that 10,000 hour thing. Yeah. And when you're young, you've got so much more time, so much more freedom to be able to do that. And perhaps, some of it could be better spent, and it's not smart, as you've talked about, but you fundamentally are just playing and practicing and continually learning and doing this loop thing on your own and self-sufficiently. Yeah. And that's a really good trait. But it can also be seen from the outside world as if you're just sat there playing Fortnite and you're wasting your life and you're never going to be able to do anything with it. Yeah. It's kind of a funny thing how you can look at it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I sometimes think about the whole iPad, phone, computer thing, and like to what extent it's actually useful to set boundaries on kids with that kind of stuff. Yeah, because I feel like if me and my brother had a hard boundary on our computer usage, it would have completely stunted our development.
Exactly. Yeah. And with Isla, I say no, so she just doesn't get YouTube. I think YouTube's just a no from me. And we limit the amount of TV she watches on her iPad. Yeah. But then she's got games that are creative, that are maybe problem solving, thinking, and I think that's absolutely fine.
Nice. Yeah.
Like, yeah. But then you get judged. So like if you're in a cafe and your daughter's looking at a screen, maybe being creative and drawing something or colouring something in, there's going to be parents in that cafe that are like, look at that.
Yeah. So this is something that I've come across this concept in a couple of these parenting books about like parents feeling as if often feeling like the reason they're doing stuff is because they don't want to get judgment from other parents in the vicinity.
Absolutely.
Like, do you guys have that feeling of, I don't want other parents to judge me?
I'm kind of funny with it, because I try not to allow people's other judgment of what I do to really affect me too much. I have like probably a handful of people that'll be like, yeah, that's important to me. Like if I do something that's egregious and they're upset about me with it, then I should reflect on it and try and do better. But then equally, like I kind of take the blanket thing now, where every parent is just trying to do their best. And, if they're hanging them upside down by their ankles, walking them through a restaurant, like I have no idea what's happened. Like it literally could be anything. Yeah. So there is, from my perspective, certainly looking out, there is no judgment. And I can't judge, because I know how difficult it is. I know that first time I took Olivia home, and we're like, she's crying, and we've had absolutely no training. I say absolutely no training. We had like some baby and bump class, but that was just talking about nappy changing. Yep. You've got no training. You're in the dirt. You're in the field. The enemy's shooting at you really hard, and you're like, what do I do? And you're just going off of instinct. And you're also going off instinct when you're so tired. You're exhausted because you tried to support your wife through labor, and you haven't slept very well, and you just all this kind of thing. So I guess I just I hope that other parents have that type of attitude, and probably they don't. Neil's probably got more experience because he's taken them to school, and there's the whole parent thing. But I don't know. I try not to judge now, and just be like, you know what, they're doing their best. They're just trying to raise their kids, and no one knows what they're doing really. But I don't know what Neil thinks.
Yeah, like social media has probably had an impact, and I definitely, in the early days of being a dad, you definitely feel like you're being judged, and you kind of, I don't know, you're sitting in a restaurant and Isla's kicking off. The easy thing to do is give her a phone or a screen to play with, and then but you don't want to because other parents around that restaurant are going to judge you, and yeah, it's a hard one.
They're going to judge you for being a bad parent, such that you need an iPad to abuse the child.
Yeah. But I don't even know these people, and I'll probably never see them again. But for some weird reason,
but then someone in that restaurant is judging you for giving them the iPad, and why haven't you given them crayons to play with? And why are you letting them eat chips? They should be eating salad.
Where's that vegetable? Come on!
It's like a YouTube comment section, but in a restaurant.
Yeah. But then going back to social media, like you've got all these parent influencers who I think are selling their children. In more ways than one in terms of what they're putting out there. But yeah, they have this idyllic life of like family photos that look perfect and everybody's dressed up.
The Christmas card.
Yeah, the Christmas card photo. But there's thousands and thousands of parents out there doing that. And I think as a parent, like you'll experience this, and you obviously know social media quite well, Ali, that what am I getting at? Lost my train of thought.
Something about parents being judgmental and Christmas cards and the
it's
idyllic.
like the comparison.
Yeah, the comparison, and you see the perfect family, and you say, why am I not like that? Why is my kid not like that?
And you're sat there in your pants, and all the kids are running around feral, half naked.
Yeah, and you haven't slept for days, and you've had about 10 coffees and stuff like that, and it's very hard, and you can get yourself into a bit of a loop of like, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong?
Yeah.
Is it me that's the problem? Is it my child that's the problem? Is there something wrong with it with my child? Is there? It's hard.
Yeah, I tried to not think that way, or I definitely, because you know, when we have a problem and we phone NHS 24, the old hello, how you doing? Is everything okay? They generally all ask the same question: does she seem okay in herself? So that kind of tells me that no one really knows what's going on.
Yeah,
even medics and nurses that are down the phone, they're just like, okay, we got a checklist just to see if it's not like meningitis or all like anything kind of absolutely severe. She's not choking, she's still breathing. Does she seem okay? And you're like,
I wouldn't be on the phone.
so it's kind of like that, you know. If you're kind of like, you know, my kid seems really happy. She seems smiley. She's, you know, pooing right and, you know, sleeping right and feeding okay. Yeah, I'm probably doing all right.
Yeah,
everything's all right. There's a book that I recommended to Neil, and that you recommended to me, or you maybe recommended at some point. It was called Die with Zero.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was absolutely fantastic, especially at the stage in my life being in my mid-30s and having a child and all this kind of thing, and thinking about, well, maybe there is a 5 and 10 year plan where I didn't necessarily have one then. Have you thought about how you're going to die with zero?
Not extensively. So, when I read that book, basically for people who are not familiar with it, the concept is that you should aim to die with $0 in your bank account. And if you die with anything more than that, then, well, you've done something wrong because, well, what's the point? And, you know, the immediate objections to that are like, what about the kids? And what about charity, you selfish twat kind of vibes. And his answer to the what about the kids thing is that, you know, your kids need the money when they're in their 20s and 30s, not when they're in their 60s by the time you die. So if you want to give your kids money, give it to them when it's actually useful. And similarly, charities need money right now rather than when you die. They'll still need money when you die, but you can do more good if you give money to charities earlier rather than later. So once you've taken care of the kids and the charity thing, you should aim to die with zero. And there's this big fear that people have of like running out of money in their retirement. And that leads people to hoard and hoard and hoard and save and save and save. And his point is that like the experiential value of money decreases over time. Like when you're young and unencumbered, you can actually do a lot with a small amount of money in terms of having a great life experience. When you're older, maybe when you've got kids, suddenly you need more money to have the same experience because now you've got to bring a family along, or it's just harder to do. And when you get really old and you've got health problems, suddenly that money starts losing its value. And so the thing that book changed for me is just being more okay with splashing out money on things like right now. So for example, I don't know, just going on weekend trips with the girlfriend, or going to nice restaurants with friends and stuff. Whereas before I would have done some sort of calculation of like, oh, I don't know, I could put that money in an index fund or something. Now I'm a bit more like, okay, you know, I think I'm doing okay in terms of savings. Let's just also remember to kind of enjoy life and use money as a tool.
Because I did ask you that question because there's always, like a while ago, we're coming back from a team social thing where I was curious. I think every person has something that they indulge in and they spend a bit more in. And most people are kind of relatively secretive about it. They're quite quiet about it. And I asked you, I was like, what's your thing? What do you spend money on? And it was still quite convenient. It was about convenience.
Yeah.
That felt very, what was that? What did I say it was? It felt very functional.
Yeah.
It's a very functional thing.
What is it?
It's like business class flights, getting an Uber or Deliveroo, because they're relatively luxury expenses.
Convenience and comfort, I think.
Yes,
because I'm soft.
Fair. And I was really fascinated by if there's literally the only return on investment is a good feeling.
Yeah.
What would those things be? And because you can, like you say, you already donate to charity like 10% of your current earnings. You've talked about buying a house for your mum, which I think is incredible. You bought your mum a car, like all these kind of things. That it's really honourable and really good that you're doing those. But what are you doing for yourself, and how are you spending that money? And I suppose restaurants and weekend trips away.
Yeah, basically that. Yeah. I don't really have a lot of things that I spend money on, which is weird. I think restaurant, weekend trips. I want to do more like adventure holiday type things. One thing I realized actually that's really good is actually being able to spend money on things like private coaching. So, for example, when I wanted to get better at tennis, it took me a while to realize I could just get a tennis teacher, a tennis coach. And then I had a tennis coach, and twice a week in Cambridge in the mornings we play tennis. And it's so great playing with a coach because they can reliably hit the ball back to you. But playing with friends is like, okay, this like half the time is spent picking up the balls. He's got his own like little barrel of balls. It's so good. And it's like, it's great because you're paying someone and then both of our objectives are aligned in helping me have a good time. And so, yeah, tennis coach.
That's basically personal training.
It's personal training, exactly. It's so good. And so I think that's an area in which I would spend money on.
Okay.
Like going to Cornwall or something, like get a one-on-one surfing lesson, wanting to get better at singing, start singing lessons, that kind of stuff. And that was a way I hadn't really been thinking before I had cash to be able to spend on this sort of stuff.
Neil, you obviously have all the children, the household
and
bills,
no money.
the household bills to cover. So do you, what do you try and spend your money on? Or do you try and indulge in things at times when you can? Because you have to think about them more now, don't you?
Yeah, so I think my indulgence includes the family as well, so it is going away with those weekends.
Yeah,
it is taking them to a safari park or just something that includes everybody. And I think I did that before I read Die with Zero, because I don't know where I got it from, but I'm always about experiences. But there's a happy medium. You've got to obviously have cash in the bank for the rainy day and that kind of thing, but then live a little. Do
you feel selfish when you spend money on yourself?
No, I don't think so. I don't do it often.
Yeah, it's a very fancy watch you've got there. At first glance.
I was, no wife, girlfriend, Rebecca, no kids, no house.
I see.
Good oil price.
So we're I suppose we're delving into a little bit of money aspects and numbers and all this kind of thing. And Neil was one of the first. You were one of the first 1,000 people on Twitter or something silly?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wait, have you got the @Neil handle?
No.
Oh,
I know.
I'm sad. I know. Very sad.
I wish if I had the @Ali handle. If I was like, why? Couldn't I have been on Twitter earlier?
I've actually got the number. It's 426.
Bloody hell.
You're number 426, and that's amazing. Yeah. So Neil's kind of dabbled with social media, and we had like a chat on a podcast about social media and trying to like build a following and all that kind of thing. And I had the whole self-promotion aspect, Facebook 8,000 subscribers or whatever else. And I'm curious about what the numbers feel like. Because it's kind of, everyone looks at that and goes, oh, wow, you've got so many friends who follow you. And I'm curious how it went from, 100 people subscribing to your YouTube channel or following you to 100,000 to 1 million to 2.7 million. And that then turns into $4.5 million in a year. What do these numbers feel like?
So, Bill, before 5,000 subscribers, it felt like, I could visualize that. And so whenever I'd get new subscribers, I'd be refreshing my phone like multiple times a day. I'd be like, yeah, I'm now on 64 subscribers. Yeah, we're down 68. Oh my God, I got 2 subscribers yesterday. Wow, incredible day. And then beyond the 5,000 mark, at that point, I think that was the peak. And everything else was just sort of plateau beyond that point. Because at 5,000, I was like, okay, cool. Now if I want to do a Q&A video, people will ask questions. At 5,000, I was thinking that if I run out of video ideas, I can just ask the audience, and someone will give a suggestion that will give me the next video idea. And then the numbers just keep going up and up and up, and then the numbers themselves stop meaning anything directly. Especially because you kind of know what the trajectory is. You can see on like the analytics that, okay, this month we've gained 84,000 subscribers in the last month. Cool, fair enough. If we keep this up, we'll be at 3.5 million in the next however many months. Cool, that's fine, whatevs. And the numbers just stop meaning anything at all. But I find that, like, for example, we were in Dubai last week and meeting real life people who are like, oh my God, I watched all your videos. I love your latest video about that. It kind of makes you remember that, oh crap, this is like, 250,000 views on a video would make me think, oh, it's not a very good video. That's 250,000 people who watched that video. Like, what the hell? That's real people.
That was a big part of Dubai that I really, really, really enjoyed seeing you do, like, witness people coming up to you and literally saying, I quit medicine because of that video you made, and now I'm going full in YouTube. You changed my life.
Yeah.
And to me, that's where it almost like comes full circle again. When you were on that refresh page at 64 subscribers, at 100 subscribers, 5,000 subscribers, you almost came all the way back from 2.8 million back to that individual person who's subscribed, who buys into your philosophies, who likes you who you are, not necessarily what you're doing, maybe to a certain extent what you're doing, but they subscribed for a long time, and they took action on their life based on the words that you used and the philosophies that you were following. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I should think about that more often.
Yeah, because it was really cool, Neil. It was like it was stressful. Don't get me wrong. I was water boy, food boy, lunch boy, camera guy,
therapist,
batter offerer, PA, admin assistant, whatever. But it was really cool. Like, we had this like little kind of thing. You were sort of sat in the corridor and like talking to all the individuals, and they were just all like, it was. Because the camera is just so vacant, isn't it, to a certain degree? Like, you have team members, you have me behind the camera, you got people that will chip in about videos, but fundamentally, it doesn't. The only response you get is a YouTube comments, and they're horrific as it is. But if you literally have someone who's your audience member, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's a really nice thing, and I think definitely over time, the hedonic adaptation means that big YouTubers will feel bad about getting 100,000 views or 200,000 views because it's not 1 million views, it's not like 2 million views. And then you start looking at things like view velocity. You start thinking, but like, back when I had 1 million subscribers, I was getting 20% of my view count or subscriber count in views, but now it's only 15%. So what's going on? Is my channel dying? Etc. Etc. And these are all the thoughts that every other YouTuber I've ever spoken to also has. So
yes,
yeah, it kind of does feel like a bit of a hamster wheel. But I think, just grounding ourselves in, the present moment, as you were talking about, and just remembering there's real people in the end. I think it's very healthy.
It's that pandemic thing that happened when we couldn't see each other and we all had to do this weird interaction via, Zoom and all that kind of thing. It's kind of similar to that, where now you're able to go to conferences and whatnot and meet the people that actually subscribe to you and ask them questions and get some really tactile feedback, which, we're social creatures, aren't we? At the end of the day, we're hunter-gatherers that are in tribes, and we're not used to having 2.8 million people subscribing to us.
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
I'm conscious that we have meetings and things to get on with and bits and pieces, but I kind of wanted to finish on one question, and I think I'm going to also ask Neil this question, because I've never actually asked him it yet. But first for you, Ali, is, what makes you happy?
I think the freedom from having to do things that I don't like, and the freedom to learn and teach on my own terms.
Nice. Neil?
That's a short answer.
Yeah, I figured it out with like a coach of mine like 2 days ago.
What makes me happy? So knowing I can give things to my family and what's the word? Support them. Like I myself, I can work, I can put food on the table, I can pay the mortgage, and my family have got a place to live. They're all healthy. Yeah, that makes me happy.
Nice. What about you?
I'm trying to think about it now. There's probably a plethora of things that make me happy. The simple things, the simple details. Because there's so much that financially, both me and Neil feel quite comfortable to a certain degree. So we can buy generally what we want and all the materialistic items and all that kind of stuff. But baby bath time.
Oh,
things like that, or just a nice meal out with Laura.
Yeah.
Just the small things.
Yeah, going for a coffee.
Yeah, going for a coffee with a friend, like having a chat. Not having any pressures, that kind of stuff. Just the simple things, I think, what's making me happy, I guess.
Oh,
yeah,
that's nice and wholesome.
Yeah, I thought so. I think, Neil, do you have any other questions You can think of anything you'd like to add?
You had quite a lot of questions in your notes.
I have loads, Neil, but we also have a meeting at 9 a.m.
I know.
I'm conscious.
We've got 10 minutes.
Oh, right. Neil's dictating.
Yeah, perfect.
Where is it? Ali Abdaal.
What we had, every single podcast we've had something that comes up. Like the last one we recorded that we did in the office on when was it? Wednesday.
Yeah.
Neil's wife Rebecca decided to start calling him in the middle of it.
Oh, hello.
So we've definitely got a bit of an amateur streak going on this professional podcast.
Good. You know, you're several episodes ahead. You're 11 episodes deep in publishing. That's pretty good.
Yeah, we're doing all right.
It's all
Actually,
about keeping it sustainable. Unlike health and fitness.
unlike health and fitness.
Am I right?
Yeah, I've got a good question, and it kind of popped into my head when you were in Dubai and stuff like that. And it's around the theme of burnout.
Yes.
So you obviously do a lot in a day. Sometimes you can be 1 or 2 podcasts. You can be filming your YouTube Academy. You can be doing other things. You could be interviewing people. How do you deal with all that and not get burnt out? Or have you been burnt out? And how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I don't think I have been burnt out, but maybe I'm just not self-aware enough to realize it. But again, I don't think I have. I think what I do is that so I think burnout comes from being in a sort of state of kind of for very fast movement for a sort of extended period of time. And I think for me, it's more like I have some days like yesterday where we're filming this creatorpreneur stuff all day and then we're straight into 3 hours of YouTuber Academy stuff. If that was like every day, and that happened for about a few weeks or a month, I'd probably get burnt out. But it's not every day. It's like once in a while.
Yeah,
and so
okay.
like Fridays are pretty chill. Today's going to be super fun because we've got a quarterly meeting. Weekend, I'm going to Rome. Monday is generally chill because we've got, team brainstorm. Tuesday's like a day where I can just focus on my book. So it's like...
You mix it up. You mix it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I guess the impression I got from social media, rightly or wrongly, is that you're just constantly recording, constantly interviewing people. Go.
Yeah, I mean, it's more like once a week we record and then we batch film stuff and then it comes out over the next month.
Are you looking at burnout as more of a physical thing? So you feel tired and exhausted? I'm curious if you have felt burnout from a boredom perspective. So I don't know which podcast I was listening to or which creator it was, but they were kind of talking about the idea where they enjoyed the thing for so long. Casey Neistat, I think, was probably an example of this. He clearly loved what he was doing and he did it for a long time. But he did it so much to the point where he got probably bored and it became all consuming.
Yes.
So you have the physical burnout. Like you're a young man, you're relatively fit and healthy, even though you've got a beats per minute of 80 and a lover of KFC.
Yeah.
You have all of that. So you have the physical capacity to be able to put up with it and you can. But is there a point from an intrinsic perspective where you're like, I've done so much of this, I'm actually bored of it now. And that's burnout. Bored and burnout, I suppose.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, to an extent. So I think I was thinking about this week. At the start of my YouTube journey, there was something very something very nice about like the hustly mode of I need to put out 2 videos a week, and there's no other options. It's gonna be 2 videos a week, and I don't care how crap they are, but it needs to be 2 videos a week. Now these days, I feel like I've gone beyond that, and now the videos that I want to put out are the ones that I personally think are good. But when we have sponsored deadlines, like then we have to put out a sponsored video every week, that then means that we have to put out stuff for the sake of appeasing a sponsor, which I think is not good. And I realized, like literally 2 days ago, through a conversation with one of my new coaches, that we actually could just get rid of the sponsors and just not have any sponsors that require deadlines. And there was something about that as I was just describing it and thinking about it that just felt like an enormous weight being lifted off my shoulder. I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that I was carrying this like level of pressure around trying to create decent quality content, trying to keep the audience happy, trying to have fun with it, and also trying to appease sponsor deadlines. And I actually don't need to worry about the deadlines because thankfully we're in a place with the business where it's not a huge deal. So now I feel more like excited. I'm like, oh yeah, now I'm actually looking forward to making YouTube videos because now I can do the thing that I want to do, which is, freedom to learn and teach on my own terms. So I wouldn't have described that as burnout, but I think it probably it's somewhere along that spectrum of that feeling of like realizing, oh yeah, I've actually been doing this thing which is not necessarily fully fun. But then there's the other side of it, which is that life isn't fun all the time. And I think optimizing for just having fun all the time probably isn't the right thing. But I think just that feeling of relief I felt at just not having to deal with like putting out one video a week definitely showed that I was probably beyond that point. But I guess sometimes you do have to go beyond the point to realize you've gone beyond the point and then pull things back.
Of course. So. But you also had the foundation. I think we don't look at I think evaluating risk is kind of an interesting thing for a lot of people and stops them from actually pursuing what they want. For you have 2.8 million subscribers. Even if you only did one video a month and it was a banger, it would still get like 500,000 views. You'd still get decent AdSense from it. You'd still get PTY, people signing up. We'd still get fulfillment in our jobs and in our lives and what we're doing from a work perspective. And evaluating that risk is a similar kind of thing that I did in the, with that foundation you have. It's the same thing of coming from Scotland to London. Yeah, sure, it was a big move. It's moving countries, moving entire cities. But what was the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
If you cut out these sponsors and you stop them and you go, all right, we'll lose 400, 500K a year, but then we can promote our own courses that have no deadlines, that have no things, that probably make more money and more of a return. So it's all about that valuation of risk aspect of things.
Yeah. And I think it like, for me at least, it's taking the time to actually address those assumptions that I've been making. And I think that's why I really like having, for example, a business coach or whatever, because there's that time carved out to have these sorts of conversations and to actually think about it. Whereas in day-to-day life, it feels like, spending an hour thinking about the business? Who's got time for that?
And they guide you, don't they? The coaches guide you through that process and that discussion process. And that is helpful.
Yeah, and they ask you the questions that you wouldn't be like, like, for example, why do you have sponsors at all? Oh, shit, you're right. Why do we have sponsors? I guess because this episode needs to be brought to you by Brilliant. Like, why? Why does it? That
Hashtag not sponsored podcast. But if you really want to sponsor the Greenhorn podcast, then please by all means join us. Right. No, I definitely have to cut time, Neil. I think this has been a great podcast.
Thanks for having me on. It's been fun.
I have a plethora of more questions, so maybe when Neil comes down, we could do a part 2.
Love it.
And bring you on. But
amazing.
Okay, you up to Edinburgh.
Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah.
Have you been to Edinburgh?
I have a couple of times. One of my friends is getting married there next month, so I'll be going up.
Neil could show you around the sunny sights of Dunfermline.
Is Dunfermline in Edinburgh?
It's in Fife, across the bridge.
Oh, I remember once we were playing. Have you played the board game Articulate?
No.
It's like a board game where you see like these little words on the card, and you have to describe the word to the people in your team without saying the word.
Got you.
And I was like, it's like that, that body that manages football. And we're like, well, FIFA. I was like, yeah, but it sort of sounds like that. It's like a place. So like, I was like, where the hell is Fifey? And everyone just cracked up. They were like, what the
Fifey.
So yeah, I'd never heard of Fife before then.
Classic way to end. Ali, thanks very much for joining on the podcast. It was very enjoyable. I had a great conversation about dad life and investments and dying with zero and all that.
Thanks for having me. And I'll be messaging you guys as and when I become a dad. For tips.
We'll all be awake at 4 a.m. taking selfies. Neil, thanks very much for a great podcast as again. If you would like to subscribe, we have a YouTube channel. Just type in Greenhorn Podcast. I'm pretty sure
you'll find it.
You'll find it. We have Instagram, Greenhorn Podcast. Any questions, any queries about the episode, I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye. Cheers. It's been good.
Good stuff.